Umar, right?
Everything that Donald Trump is doing, he's doing because he has no choice but to do. If Donald Trump goes against the Zionist agenda, he will go to jail for the rest of his life for being complicit in the Jeffrey Epstein scandal. People are saying Donald Trump said no new wars. Donald Trump said, why are we fighting other people's battles? If the war isn't important for America, why are we getting in it? But now you see him, he's completely contradicting himself. You just bombed Nigeria, you bombed and invaded Venezuela, kidnapped the president, you sending threats to Iran that you're gonna bomb them on behalf of the Zionists in Israel. Why is Donald Trump dancing to a different drum than the one he played when he campaigned for presidency of the United States the second term? Because he didn't know the Zionists had a blackmail card on him. Donald Trump has to do exactly what they tell him to do, or he will go to jail for the rest of his life. Not because he participated necessarily, but because he had knowledge of it and did nothing about it. There's a viral video of Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel. I think they're at the White House, and Donald Trump pulls his chair out, and then he sits down and he pushes his chair, and he was basically being subservient to Netanyahu. You've never seen Donald Trump as arrogant and narcissistic as he is. You've never seen him be subservient to any man. That's the first time I've seen Donald Trump be subservient in his life. Why is he bowing down to Netanyahu? Because they got the blackmail card, Epstein Island.
All three of y'all here. That Tyson moment where he said, Eve.
Yeah, he's still
fuck the shit out. I never forget this a day in my life. Yeah. Tyson is dead. That's our man. He love us.
Facts.
Tyson love us.
Facts.
Right. We as little men. Like he like when he see us like all the time. Like we ecstatic because the champ fuck with us like on some real shit. Like he fuck with us. He love us. We like boom. we was backstage. Tyson is talking crazy though. Everybody. He's talking crazy to all kind of chicks though. Not just Eve. Right. But not like he's just like on a. He ain't talking to crazy that it's not crazy disrespectful, but it's like the type if it's somebody you could beat, you'd be like, yo, watch your fucking mouth. But it's Mike Tyson, so you can't beat him, so you can't say, watch your fucking mouth. Now he's looking at Eve. I think Eve looked like a red bone steak to him. So he's kind of on more on an edge. But Eve's with us, so she's looking at us like the big bros. That's Iron Mike. We know he could sleep all of us. Dead. He could sleep all of us.
Yeah, sleep everybody.
But he's talking crazy. The talk is crazy. None of us know. We know we can't beat him. Now it come to a decision. He's gonna keep talking to Eve. We might gotta poke Mike. But who's gonna poke him? And how they gonna poke him? Whoever run up on him is sleep. Luce, we gotta hold Eve down. Like that's what, like we came to the conclusion. We can't let Mike keep. So now we kind of like nervous. But I ain't gonna lie, we was like on a. It was like an official but sucker nigga like, yo, chill. Like, yo, chill. Like we was hitting him with that. It wasn't like a D block or yo, fucking chill. It was like, yo, chill. It went to a like, yo, dog, chill. But that it wasn't like official like.
What happened with Eve after?
Eve didn't know about our plan. It was us in the huddle.
No, but where'd she go?
I wanted to leave that out. You fucked it up. We told Eve bounce. I was kind of sucker. Cause when the 6 niggas huddling up for one nigga,
Fucking Mike Tyson, man.
you feel weak.
Fucking Mike Tyson.
Pierre, that's Mufasa. Aaron, Pierre, that's Mufasa. What? Aaron, Pierre, that's Mufasa. Get it, Aaron, Pierre, that's Mufasa. Get it, Aaron, Pierre, that's Mufasa. Aaron, Pierre, that's Mufasa. Get it, Aaron, Pierre, that's Mufasa. Go, Aaron, Pierre, that's Mufasa. Get it, Aaron, Pierre, that's Mufasa.
All right. Can y'all hear me yet? Testing. All right. Seem to be better off. Man, what's going on with y'all, man? Yo, what's going on? This your boy Mufasa, man. Chaotic Clubhouse. Y'all know what time it is. We, like I said, if you look, y'all know what's, if you ain't been knowing what's going on lately, what's been going on in the world, right? Little Iran war news. Yeah. And we're gonna get into it. This morning before y'all get up and get going on your break, get going on your job. We're gonna talk about a little Iran war news. We're gonna talk about what's going on politics in the black community. We gonna, like I said, we're gonna discuss it. We're gonna be in here for a short time, not a long time. We're gonna get you information. We're gonna get on out of here, all right? But salute to y'all, man. Y'all can hit that like button for your boy, man. Hit that like button for your boy. You know what I mean? Appreciate it, man. Appreciate y'all, man, for stopping through. Right? So, yeah. You know what I mean? We're going to go ahead and get started today. And we're going to see what in the world is going on around the globe, right? That's what we're going to take a look at. We're going to see what's going on around the globe. We're going to see what in the world. And like I said, Trump is issuing an ultimatum to Iran. Yes, you either going to open up that Straight of Hormuz or we going to rain down hell on you. Right? That's what we going to do. What y'all think about that? But anyway, let's go ahead and get started. With
Jerusalem and the West Bank. Let's get you to CNN Jerusalem Bureau Chief Oren Liebman. Oren, just walk us through what you make of this latest escalation.
Becky, what's clear here is that as far as we are up the escalation ladder, there is much more to go. As President Donald Trump has vacillated between wanting to end the war soon or expanding the war, we are very much on the expanding the war side of it, with that deadline for Iran to reopen the Strait of Hormuz rapidly approaching. There is absolutely no indication they intend to listen to or succumb to Trump's threat here.
So y'all heard, I told you. Trump has threatened Iran. And you see right here, this is the Straight of Hormuz. And take a look at the countries around it. You see UAE, you see Qatar, you see Oman. See, a lot of these places, is, like I said, this is what they mean by they're attacking their neighbors. Iran's strategy is to shut down the Strait of Hormuz, and they've done it. Trump is going to the international community and threatening Iran, saying, no. You go open up that strait, because that's why our gas prices are so high, right? But hey, they saying nope, we ain't opening up nothing. So now we're at a standoff with Iran. Who's gonna do what? Are they gonna open it, or are we gonna sit here and continue to stay closed? Trump has issued an ultimatum. Let's see will it work.
In which case, it's up to Trump whether he carries out those strikes on Iranian power plants. Iran has vowed a response. If the U.S. strikes Iran's electricity infrastructure and power plants, they will retaliate and attack.
So they vowing to respond. I thought Trump said, man, we about won this thing. Look, man, I'm telling y'all, I told y'all this before. This is the great thing about me living as long as I've lived. I remember Bush doing this. Oh, we won, it's over. 20 more years we there. You gotta take that shit with a grain of salt. He's saying that for you guys, to make you guys feel good. It ain't actually what's going on.
Attack energy and oil infrastructure throughout the region and close the Strait of Hormuz. We've already seen oil and energy prices spiking. This, I suspect, would do much more of that and much more rapidly. So it's a critical moment here. Interestingly, one of Israel's leading Iran experts says this shows that despite all of the U.S. and Israeli strikes on Iran, they are still able to manage an escalation ladder. They do still have command and control of the military, and they're able to signal throughout their strikes. So this is a critical moment, and we're waiting to see what Trump's decision is. Meanwhile, Israel continues to carry out waves of strikes. We saw a number of sirens warning of incoming missiles throughout the day yesterday, about a dozen or so. We actually saw one here in Jerusalem just a couple of hours ago. So Iran's still able to retaliate, still able to fire missiles at Israel.
Now, this is why I say, at the end of the day, things aren't going exactly how Trump is saying. Because a country as big and strong, as powerful as America, should be able to reopen the strait by itself. But yet we're calling on other countries and the international community to come help. If we can do it ourselves, we should be able to do it ourselves, right? But that's not exactly what we're doing.
Israel continues to carry out waves of strikes in Iran, trying to weaken the regime, going after the military, and more.
Oren, good to have you from there. I will say that from the UAE in this Gulf region, a state of sort of high alert at this point. My next guest writes that Iranian military leadership has threatened to target energy, water, and cyber infrastructure across the region, saying, quote, "This establishes a clear escalation ladder in which attacks on Iran's infrastructure would trigger region-wide retaliation." Also, for the first time, the threat of horizontal escalation is being explicitly made, not just energy, but other types of civilian infrastructure. 24 hours away from President Trump's new deadline for Iran to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. In a social media post on Saturday, Donald Trump threatened to, quote, "obliterate Iran's power plants if the waterway is not fully reopened within 48 hours. Well, in response, Iran says it's prepared to close the critical trade route completely and indefinitely if those energy sites are attacked. Well, meanwhile, just hours ago, at least one Iranian missile carrying a cluster warhead could be seen above Israel, Jerusalem, and the West Bank. And the Israeli military says it's destroy all bridges over the strategic Litani River, which links southern Lebanon with the rest of the country. Right, CNN's Paula Hancock joins us live from Dubai, where she has been monitoring the very latest. And let's focus on the region, very specifically on the Strait of Hormuz, ahead of that deadline from Donald Trump. The Iranian response, of course, is to attack a long list of civilian infrastructure around this region where we are, should Donald Trump come good on his promise. So a sort of heightened sense of alert, I think, is the way.
Ground operation would be limited in scope and duration. We must all remember that almost every incursion into Lebanon began as a limited operation, and before you knew it, it metamorphed into some kind of a multi-year campaign and war and almost permanent presence. So that would represent a major intensification or escalation. Let's also put it all in context, Paulo, that Israel deliberately, I'm not defending Hezbollah here, and they have created a terror state within a state, and for many years they were funded by the Iranians. But Israel, by its own admission, degraded, decimated, all those euphemisms, Hezbollah back in 2024 and 2025. So why deliberately expand the war right now? Once the war with Iran began on the 28th of February, 24 days ago, there was an expectation that there would be some limited conflagration with Hezbollah. But Israel then deliberately went on and expanded this into a military operation. So this intensification that you're talking about, for which I answered a way too long answer, this intensification is actually taking place as we speak.
And my question is, were they lying to us in 24 and 25? Did they actually wipe them out? Or was it propaganda? Something to think about.
Deliberately.
No, it is a really important context that you lay out, especially with the concerns from the Lebanese president that you just heard a little while ago of this alleging and accusing, I should say, Israeli forces of staging that the ground offensive that we just talked about. When you look at the goals, though, not just for Israel, but also the U.S., Help me sort of compare what both of those goals are. First for Israeli forces, and then, of course, for the U.S. as it continues with the conflict with Iran.
Now, Lebanon is a country we don't talk about a lot. See, Lebanon is something we like, oh, yeah, Israel got them, right? Well, until they don't. And like I said, especially our relationship, as close as our relationship is with Israel and how we always jump into conflicts with anybody who Israel has a problem with, what I will say is that we probably should keep an eye on that. You know what I mean?
Okay, that's a great question because I don't know. I don't know what America.
Obviously, Hezbollah is a unique element alone when it comes to Israel's offensive. But overall, when it comes to Iran, have their priorities changed? I should have asked.
Well, yeah, but what I was going to say is that it's the most basic, fundamental, and critical question. What you just asked about the goals, and there's no clear answer because look. In June of 2025, there was President Donald Trump boasting, bragging, and with pumping his fists in the air, saying we obliterated Iran's nuclear program. He then came up with something that is closer to a hoax than a real intelligence assessment, that Iran was weeks ahead before it could break out. Into producing a nuclear weapon. That is not founded. That is not supported by evidence. He then came out with something that said, well, Iran was going to attack the U.S. There's no intelligence evidence about that either. So as far as the U.S. is concerned, if this is about nuclear proliferation, why haven't we heard the name North Korea in the last year? I mean, they have missiles and they have ballistic.
Oh, that's a great question. That is a phenomenal question. Don't seem like you're going in here about no nuclear because, like I said, y'all just won't go nowhere near North Korea. Y'all been having a problem with Kim Jong-un for a while. And yet you just constantly, you go in the Middle East and take all of them out. But, hey, I'm saying, because North Korea has missiles just like that too. I'm just saying, they real quiet on North Korea, but you run over there in Venezuela, you run over there to Iran, but don't nobody run over there to North Korea. You've been talking about him for years.
Missiles, and they have 40, according to the American intelligence community, they have somewhere in the vicinity of 40 nuclear weapons. So why are you going after Iran?
Yeah, but that's the same intelligence community that tell you Iran got a whole bunch of nukes too. And
after you admitted that you decimated or annihilated or obliterated was the term he used in June of 2025. So I honestly don't know what the U.S.'s objectives were. It's clear that some of the scenarios that were unfolding were not anticipated by the U.S., the Straight of Hormuz, and Iran's defiance and formidable missile capabilities, launching capabilities. As for Israel, it's almost the same thing. I mean, there's Mr. Netanyahu, who for decades has talked about an existential threat and an imminent existential threat. And this is 1938 all over again, and this is Nazi Germany, only it's not Berlin, it's Tehran, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But he, too, in June of 2025, talked about Iran has been set back decades historically. So what is the objective here? Now, the place where the two diverge is regime change, but that's a different story. I don't see it happening, certainly not through aerial power alone.
Mr. Ambassador, we have to leave it there, but it is all critical context that you're providing there, as always. Alon Pincus.
So, hey, man, when you look around and see now when you really get into it, shit, I don't know. Maybe it's not as easy as we thought, right? Maybe it's not as easy as we thought, but that's all right. You know what I mean? Like, nobody thought this was going to be easy, but anyway, let's roll on over to Fox Live and see what they talking about over there.
That recent post from President Trump is, for the last couple of weeks, there's also been a debate in the air as to who within Iranian leadership is even going to be at the negotiating table. We've seen several of these top senior Iranian officials being taken out by strikes and all of these operations having on the ground. So, David, who is the U.S. specifically talking to at this time?
Well, my assumption is the foreign minister, Abbas Araghchi. He's still alive. He's been one of the main interlocutors that the Trump administration has been speaking to, both Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner. My assumption, again, there's not much detail in the Truth Social post, as you know.
So it seems as if we're leaving the foreign minister alive. We're leaving him kind of alone. This the one we're in communication with as far as America goes. So.
Now, who's he speaking to is a bigger question. Who's telling him what is and isn't acceptable? What are Iran's red lines, or what Iran's willing to even concede temporarily? That's a bigger question. As far as we know, there's a supreme leader who's alive, Mujtaba Khamenei, and the Iranian regime it's been around for 50 years. This isn't a regime that just popped up overnight. They have a chain of succession. They have a sophisticated organizational structure. Just because the top or the prominent or the forward people that we've known for some time have been eliminated does not mean that they don't have successors that have replaced them in the necessary positions. Who those people are, again, I don't know just yet, but I assume that's who Mr. Araghchi would be taking his instructions from on the Iranian side.
David,
so we don't even have a clue of who in the world we talking to. We just got the foreign minister reporting somebody, but we have no clue.
Screenshot of that post from President Trump. This is via Rapid Response 47. I want to talk a little bit about these hard lines, these red lines, and what Iran would be able to consent to in order to move forward and have productive talks and negotiations. Now, you had mentioned that is one of the main questions that we have right now, but given what we've seen, how it's all unfolded, what could we possibly think are some of these points that Iran would consent to, especially with the Iranian regime still there in power? And also, how does this kind of reflect the main goals that the U.S. had when we first launched these strikes against Iran?
Well, look, I think any concessions that Iran may make are going to be tactical and temporary. And I think that would give Iran a little bit more flexibility to do what appears to be a lot for the foreseeable future. I can't see many concessions on the proxies, the support for proxies in the region. My sense is, just as that was dropped under previous administrations, that may be the case moving forward if the Trump administration feels like pursuing negotiations is an option with the Iran.
So basically he's saying, man, ain't nothing permanent. Everything, all of this is if it's anything, it's gonna be temporary. You know what I mean? If anything, it's gonna be temporary. We already know that, right? Right, we already know that. Now, like I said, shoot, man, you know what? I usually don't do it, but we gonna go to like I said, we gonna go to a little what I call some black news. You know what I mean? Don't really care for them too much, but
they are
we're gonna take a look at a little Roland Martin, all right?
I was in Alicia Simmons' district until I got gerrymandered out. So I'm a victim of it myself. So you're definitely correct. And the thing is that there are enough votes right now in Tarrant County for Alicia Simmons to win. The thing is that we have to get those voters out.
Yep.
Black people alone, there are enough votes. And so the thing is that we just have to focus.
Oh, now they talking about gerrymandering. This is big because this is how your girl Jasmine Crockett got put out of office. Gerrymandering. Y'all better pay attention to that gerrymandering.
So again, we look statewide, East Texas, rich in votes, but again, not always organized and mobilized. And so this is a massive effort. Obviously, it's a huge state, 254 counties. But what I always say, we have to maximize where our people are. And when you look at black folks in Texas, you really are talking about Harris County, Dallas County, Travis County, Tarrant County, East Texas. That's where we are now. We're in other parts as well. You talk about Longview and all other parts of the state. But if we lock in low in those places, we can actually see the change. So hopefully we'll see a lot of brothers out there in the black and gold. And the point I keep saying to your point about the community, one of the reasons people complain about D9 because that we are so insular in our own business. If we're out there knocking on doors, if we're doing block walks, and people are seeing us out there doing that, then they probably have a different understanding of what we do.
Exactly.
All right, I appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
All right, thanks a bunch.
There's this viral relationship theory going around on the internet. So, of course, we had to bring in our mental health expert to see if there's any validity to it. It's called the bird theory. Now, I know you saw it on TikTok, right? It's a trend where one partner mentions a mundane observation, like seeing a bird, to test if the other person engages or ignores it. Mental health therapist and coach Robin May is here to break it down for us and keep.
Hold on, what? Oh God, here y'all go, man. With this,
keep us in relationship. Robin, welcome.
I am so excited to be here, Dr. Ebony. Thank you for having me.
I'll come up with any damn thing.
Right. You know, I am so excited about this because I am going to test this out. I'm that kind of person. So can you explain to us what exactly is the bird theory in more detail?
So first of all, I want you all to stay married. My whole focus is to help people stay married. My whole business is IBelieveInMarriage.com.
Yeah, and it sounds like you about to say some stupid shit before we get the hell on. What, lady? What are you talking about?
So while I understand all of us wanting to test our spouse, I want us to be a little bit careful, and I'll explain why. So the bird theory is based off of the Gottmans. Now, whatever industry that you are in, I want you to think about whomever is that person in that industry. That are the Gottmans. For those of us who do marriage work, they are the heroes of the industry. And so anything that they put out, we all grab hold to. So the reality is,
well, that's a damn problem. Shit.
Is the bird theory is basically connected to a bid, BID, a bid for connection. And let me tell you what's so interesting. Before I even knew that I was going to have this conversation, I literally just released a video on the 6 research-based reasons people are disconnected in their marriage. And one of the reasons is what's called decreased emotional responsiveness. So that's basically you are reaching out, trying to have a connection with your significant other, with your spouse, and it's not being reciprocated. So what the Gottmans have said with the bird theory is that you say something random to your spouse, something that's not a big deal. It's nothing super serious. It's just a regular statement. And if your spouse responds to you, I think they would say turns toward you, engages with you, that means the two of you are connected. The research, I believe they found, said that 86% of couples who respond to bids for connection have healthy marriages. And I think there's about a 30%.
All right, so y'all heard that. So basically, if you in your damn marriage,
expectation that.
And basically all you got to do is when they be like, hey, that's a bird, you turn to her, look her square in the eyes and say, the fuck are you talking about? The fuck are you looking at? Stop looking at some dumb ass goddamn birds. You all, what the fuck are you staring at the fucking birds for? Get your ass in there and make me a sandwich. If you say that, then you're very connected to your partner, according to her. Y'all just heard what she said. Y'all heard what she said. You know, you look at her and say, the fuck are you talking about? Hey, we good.
This is not necessarily connected to love languages necessarily. So we could have, let's come back and have another conversation about love languages, because love languages are very important. But there's also an idea of what makes me feel emotionally connected to you. So that's really a different conversation. A bid for connection, a BID, a bid for connection, it doesn't even have to be words necessarily. That is the reason why I am saying, y'all, don't test your spouse and take the test as the indicator of the health of your marriage. Let me say it again. I understand, you know, being on TikTok and you're seeing all the things.
Hey, I'm just saying, y'all seen it. Yeah, y'all heard it. Just go take the test. All right. Well, that motherfucker turn to you and say, what the fuck are you looking at a fucking bird? You come to talk to me about a goddamn bird? The fuck? What the fuck are you coming to me talking about a motherfucking bird for? Don't you come in here talking about no motherfucking bird. God damn it.
Reaching out to you for some way to connect and you respond. You don't have to be the type of person who wants to have really deep conversations. It is basically, I am reaching out and you are turning toward me. That's basically the bid for connection.
Okay, so what does it mean?
They come up with some of these, I swear.
This is my problem. That's my problem. So what does it mean? The separation of work and home. But what does it mean when a partner consistently misses the bid for connection? Does that mean that they're not really into you? Or is it a learned thing that they have to go through?
Okay, so if I am observing this and someone comes to me and they say that my partner is consistently not responding to my bid for, remember that keyword is consistently. So the reason why I'm teasing all of you who are,
I gotta consistently respond to you talk about birds and shit. Ma'am, this is crazy.
because life is lifing. And so a one-time miss, but in all seriousness, when there is a pattern, when there is a consistency of I am reaching out and you're not responding, I have found that could be one of two things. One, it could really be that your spouse is depleted, right? Again, I said life is lifing. We're
depleted. He depleted of you. He or she is depleted of you asking about dumbass birds and such. Ma'am, stop asking me about these damn birds. We got bills and these kids running around and we trying to go on vacation and you talking about, oh, honey, a bird. Don't ask me about no god woman.
marriage. I have not met a couple. Thank you. You know, I said give us our props. I have not met a couple who has not been in the roommate zone, coming out the roommate zone, or going into the roommate zone. And so I say that to say there are different factors that contribute to what I'm calling the roommate zone, or that contributes to a spouse not responding to a bid for connection, or the bird theory. So it could be that your spouse is depleted, life is lifing, and they're having a hard time managing. And so over the last few weeks, the last few months, they haven't been responding. I asked a client recently who was kind of communicating something along these lines. I asked her, wait, I know a lot that's going on in y'all's life. I know a lot that you all are dealing with. So, but I have met her in the midst of lifing for them. So my question to her was, before life was lifing to this degree, was this going on? So in other words, is this a pattern of your marriage, or is this just the pressure of this season? And so what I would ask a woman or a husband.
God, no. I guess women need this shit though. You know, I know what y'all say. I guess they need it. They need to talk through it sometimes. It's the pressure of life, or was you guys, you know, all that. I understand. I know you sometimes y'all forget, you know, we just forget and we just gotta hear it. You know, we gotta hear the normal shit again. We got to hear it. But come on, man.
Is it that he or she is depleted, or are they really disconnected?
Well, I could tell you preaching your sessions, and I need that kind of preaching, because is there a difference too in the small moments of responsiveness? You know, do those matter more than the big grand gestures of, well, I helped lift the world for you, or you didn't have to.
Responsiveness, man, you must be responsive, I say. Okay. If I mention a bird, motherfucker, you better stop turning to me and talk about the bird.
Okay. I need everybody to hold on, because I think that this might be wisdom that is not what is heard often. I tell couples all the time that there is no such thing as standing still in marriage. When couples tell me we're just stagnant, I tell them I understand why you're saying that. But really, there's no such thing as standing still. And I want all the marriage therapists to DM me and say, Robin, I totally agree. Let me tell you what I mean by that. Marriage is dynamic. It's constantly moving. And here's really what that means. There's always an interpretation happening in your marriage, right? Now, let me.
Man, I swear, man. Look, hey, crazy, man. Crazy. Look, hey, these ladies, look, hey, more power to them. More power to them. But at the end of the day, look, man, we know what's going on. Maybe ladies need to be talked to. Maybe ladies need to be talked to like that. You know what I mean? Maybe that's what they need. Maybe that's what they need. Like, I mean, it is what it is, man.
But they were starting work at another site, a different site, different kind of a site. And that was protected by granite. They wanted it protected. Granite's pretty good, but they wanted it protected by a lot deeper. They wanted to go a lot deeper. And they started the process while rapidly building conventional ballistic missiles. They were going to do it all at the same time. It threatened our overseas bases and soon could have reached even our homeland. The regime's intention was to use this exponentially growing ballistic missile threat to make it virtually impossible to prevent them from obtaining a nuclear weapon. So as you probably saw, they had a tremendous number of missiles, most of which are now being used or destroyed, and very unsuccessfully used, because we have been able, for the most part, to shoot them all down. What incredible technology. The Patriots have been unbelievable, and other things. And the laser technology that we have now is incredible. It's coming out pretty soon. Where literally lasers will do the work of, at a lot less cost, do the work of what the Patriots are doing or what other things are doing. The situation was very quickly approaching the point of no return, and the United States found it intolerable, in my opinion, based on what Steve and Jared and Pete and others were telling me, Marco, so involved, that I thought that they were going to attack us. I thought they would, if we didn't do this at the time we did it, I think they had in mind to attack us. And if you
attack us where, man? Y'all, do y'all believe that, or you just think that's what we saying just to, because I always say it's the propaganda. You got to tell the American people something, man. You got to filter through.
You notice they did something which was very foolish, very stupid, I would say. They attacked their neighbors, and their neighbors were largely neutral, or at least weren't going to be involved, and they got attacked. And it had the reverse effect. The neighbors came onto our side and started attacking them, and actually.
Now, were they on? What now? Did they come over to their side, or did the Iran already know that they was already over there anyway? See, Iran might already knew that. Man, please, they don't need. Oh, now you drove them over here to join us. Iran said, please. Their ass was already on your side. That's how we knew to attack them.
Quite successfully. If you look at Saudi Arabia, you look at UAE, Qatar, and others, but they were strong and they were smart. But they got
we got bases there. Come on, Trump, we got bases there. We heavily in those countries. So it's like, to say, oh, they're gonna stay neutral. We firing shit from them bases. Trump, stop it, man. They know them countries not neutral.
Attacked. Nobody. When I first heard it, I said, no, somebody made a mistake. There was no mistake. UAE had over 1,000 missiles shot at it, knocked them almost all down. On the very first day I came down the escalator in 2015, I said, quote, I will stop Iran from getting nuclear weapons, and all I'm doing is keeping my promise. Think of that. That was in 2015. I said it. It was a threat then and a much bigger threat now, but no longer a threat, not for a long time anyway. We want to keep it that way. As we continue Operation Epic Fury, we're also focused on keeping energy and oil flowing to the world. And I will not allow a terrorist regime to hold the world hostage and attempt to stop the globe's oil supply. And if Iran does anything to do that, they'll get hit at a much, much harder level. I will take out those targets that were easy and that I mentioned just before. We'll take them out so quickly, they'll never be able to recover, ever. If they want to.
All right, now see this is where we get into the threat, because Iran has shut down the Strait of Hormuz. We talked about this. They shut it down. So this is what Trump said. All right, I'm issuing y'all 48 hours. We 24 hours in. Iran like, the hell with you, man. We ain't opening nothing.
Play that game. They better not play that game. In the long run, oil supplies will be dramatically more secure without the threat of Iranian ships, drones, missiles, nuclear menace, or anything. So the Strait of Hormuz is going to remain safe. We have a lot of Navy ships there. We have the best equipment in the world, inspecting for mines. Again, most of their ships are down at the bottom of the sea, but we will hit them so hard that it will not be possible for them or anybody else helping them to ever recover that section of the world if they do anything. In recent years, the regime and its...
Hold on, if we do that, what's the point? Anybody asking, like, if we just mess it up to the point where nobody can rebuild it, then what are we doing here then? Is that what we're trying to do? I don't know. I'm asking y'all, is that what we trying to do? Is we trying to just destroy it to the point nobody can rebuild on it?
Terror proxies have launched attacks on hundreds of commercial vessels We're putting an end to all of this threat once and for all, and the result will be lower oil prices, oil and gas prices for American families. We've done that. We've done it. We brought it very low. This was just an.
And I don't care nothing about what you done did, man. Look, I just went and got some gas yesterday. Look, hey, I'm talking about the cheapest gas you're going to find is $3.60. $3.69. That's hey, you know what I mean? You might find something at $3.50. That's the cheapest you're going to find. You ain't about to find no cheap gas. What are you talking about? So before you get into your bullshit, just remember where we at. Don't get to talk about what gas was, and then you done went into war, and they didn't close the strait, and that gas sky high.
An excursion into something that had to be done. We're getting very close to finishing that, too. In the meantime, during this brief disruption, the United States is offering political risk insurance to any tankers operating in the Gulf. So we're putting up risk insurance. We'll perhaps go alongside of them for protection. We don't think it'll be necessary if it is. And if they do anything, the price will be incalculable. It will be so great that they will have wished they never.
Or I don't know, man. If you own a tanker company, or are you willing to make this risk? They say, oh, we're going to give you risk insurance. Man, you know how long it takes for me to build these boats and these tankers? How many of these things you think I got laying around here for Iran to be taken out? Oh, well, our ships are going to be with you on some of the cases that we, you know. I'm like, hey, I don't know, man. I don't know if I'm willing to risk my shit.
Never did it, because you have to keep the straits flowing. With all of that, it affects other countries much more than it does the United States. It doesn't really affect us. We have so much oil. We have tremendous oil and gas, much more than we need. We have Venezuela now as our new partner, great partner. They've worked out so wonderful. We're working with the administration, the president.
But by force. Man, come on, man. How you say that? Yeah, we working with me and Venezuela as our new partner. Like, oh, really? Really? That's how you gonna put it? I mean, not that we done threw the motherfucker who won't working with us out and go grab the motherfucker and say, you get your ass in there. What? Come on.
And it's a massive source of oil, gas, everything. But we're in a very good position, but very unfair to other parts of
the taxpayer insured in Mahogany. What you think?
The world, like China as an example. I mean, we're doing this for the other parts of the world, including countries like China. They get a lot of their oil through the straits. So we're doing this. We have a very good relationship with President Xi in China. I'm going there in a short period of time, and we're protecting the world from what these lunatics are trying to do, and very successfully, I might add. We're also waiving certain oil-related sanctions to reduce prices. So we have sanctions on some countries. We're going to take those sanctions off till this straightens out. Then who knows, maybe we won't have to put them on. There'll be so much peace. But when the time comes, the U.S. Navy and its partners will escort tankers through the strait if needed. I hope it's not going to be needed, but if it's needed, we'll escort them right through. And we have the greatest mine-sweeping ability. We have the greatest ships, and all of we know exactly where they're placed. We'll get them out of there very fast, but we hope we don't have any of that. And again, if they do that, if they play that game, we're going to hit them at a level that they have not seen before. So we're winning very decisively. We're way ahead of schedule. Our military is the greatest in the world, with the greatest equipment and the greatest people in the world. Nobody's ever seen anything like it.
Now, hey, like I said, do y'all believe, though?
Middle East, if we did not hit them, they were going to take over the Middle East. They had thousands and thousands since their last hit. They had thousands and thousands of missiles and everything else. Most are now destroyed, but they were going to take over the Middle East. Those weapons were aimed at Middle Eastern countries that had nothing to do with this. They were going to take over the Middle East, and they were going to try and destroy Israel. So we stopped it with good timing, and we're very proud to be involved in this, and it's going to be ended soon. And if it starts up again, they'll be hit even harder. Thank you very much for being here. Go ahead. Any questions?
Thank you so much.
Go ahead.
Do you approve of Iran's new supreme leader? And secondly, can you tell us more about your call with Russian President Vladimir Putin today?
Yes.
What did you discuss?
Yes, I had a very good call with President Putin. We had a lot of people on the line from our side, from his side. We were talking about Ukraine, which is just a never-ending fight. And look, there's tremendous hatred between President Putin and President Zelensky. They can't seem to get it together. But I think it was a positive call on that subject. And we obviously talked then about the Middle East. And he wants to be helpful. I said, you could be more helpful by getting the Ukraine-Russia war over with. That would be more helpful. But we had a very good talk, and he wants to be very constructive. Yeah, please.
And y'all believe that? He juggling all these damn hats.
Yeah, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. On Iran, you called it an excursion. You said it would be over soon. Are you thinking this week it will be over? Are
No,
you
but
talking
soon.
about days?
I think soon.
Okay, and with respect
Very
to
soon. Look, everything they have is gone, including their leadership. In fact, there are two levels of leadership, and even actually, as it turns out, more than that. But two levels.
Soon, but he won't say a day. He was like, you said days, weeks. Y'all just soon, just soon. That ain't the answer.
It's obviously been very, very powerful, very effective.
to Cuba, you said that Cuba wants to make a deal.
Yes.
What would the United States get in return for that? And why should Americans trust Marco Rubio to negotiate it?
Well, Marco Rubio is doing a great job. I think he's going to go down as the greatest Secretary of State in history. Look at what we've done as a presidency. Look at what we've done as an administration. They trust Marco, and so do the American people trust. He's been successful no matter where he's been. He also speaks the language, which is always nice and always helpful. But he's dealing, and it may be a friendly takeover. It may not be a friendly takeover. It wouldn't matter because they're down to, as they say, fumes. They have no.
Hold on, time out, man. What are we doing here, man? I'm sorry, y'all. I can't. Hold on, man. This is gonna be a friendly takeover. It might not be a friendly takeover. Why are we taking over Cuba? Yo, man, do anybody remember Trump? You weren't supposed to get no more new wars. Why are you talking about taking over Cuba now? What the hell is going on?
Energy. They have no money. They're in deep trouble on a humanitarian basis. And we don't want to see that, but they were very, very bad to a lot of people, as you know, and a lot of people living on the Cuban-American vote, which I got at record levels. Very important. Those people are very important to me. I know what they went through. They went through hell. Some of them have gone on to be some of the most successful people in the.
Whoa. Hold on, man. This ain't the 1980s. We ain't had no Cuban refugee problem. This ain't nothing that's been happening recently. This 2026. This ain't the 1960s. What the hell is daggone Trump talking about? The Cuban Americans that elected me wanted me to do this. What? We ain't hear nothing about them screaming about you taking Castro out, man. What is Trump talking about?
The country. Cuban American business people, some of them are like the most successful in the country. And a lot of them are friends of mine because I've been fighting this battle with them for a long time. The Castro regime was brutal, but they lived off Venezuela. Now they don't live off Venezuela. Sends them no energy, no fuel, no oil, no money, no nothing. They lived without Venezuela. They couldn't have made it. And we cut them off from everything else. So,
yeah, because we Venezuela now.
Yeah, they're going to make either a deal or we'll do it just as easy anyway. Yeah. Please. Go.
Yeah, because we own Venezuela. We know how this goes. What the hell is going on, man? So now we take Venezuela and say, all right, Cuba, we about to take over your ass next. Like, what the hell is going on?
There's footage that shows that an American missile strike and a Tomahawk missile likely destroyed that Iranian girls' school. So will the U.S. accept any responsibility?
Well, I
for that
haven't
strike?
seen it. And I will say that the Tomahawk, which is one of the most powerful weapons around, is used by, is sold and used by other countries. You know that.
Swimmingly. We are getting along just swimmingly.
And whether it's Iran, who also has some Tomahawks, I wish they had more, But whether it's Iran or somebody else, the fact that a tomahawk is very generic. It's sold to other countries, but that's being investigated right now. Yeah, please.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. President, you've said the war is, quote, very complete, but your defense secretary says this is just the beginning. So which is it, and how long should Americans be prepared
Well, I think
for
you could
this war
say
to
it
last
both.
for?
It's the beginning of building a new country, but they have no Navy, they have no Air Force, they have no anti-aircraft equipment. It's all been blown up. They have no radar, they have no telecommunications, and they have no leadership. It's all gone. So, you could look at that statement. We could call it a tremendous success right now as we leave here. I could call it, or we could go further, and we're going to go further. But the big risk on that war has been over for 3 days. We wiped them out in the first 2 days. When you think about it, it's incredible. We wiped out a big Navy, very powerful Navy. These were ships. These were serious ships. These were ships that you buy when you want to win battles. They're all on the bottom floor. The sailors are all running off their ships. They refuse to get on the ships. The Air Force is gone. Everything's gone. The missiles are down to a trickle. The drones are down to probably 25%, and they'll soon be down to nothing. We'll have where they manufactured the drones are under fire as we speak. They're being hit. So the rest is going to be a determination as to my attitude, along with the people in the Trump administration, what we want to do. Thank you.
So look, man, y'all got a chance to see, you just get a chance to look at your boy and what he thinking and how we doing. But what we gonna go to next, we gonna go to a story about, look, I don't know if y'all heard about the Bad Bunny halftime show, right? Sparks a little debate. I'm just gonna play a little bit before we go back to Trump about what's going on with it, right? So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and switch back.
Of course, Apple Music halftime show featured him singing in Spanish. Did not sing a single word in English. It featured a number of entertainers who were there, who were watching it all. Of course, Lady Gaga sang, Ricky Martin sang. I mean, my goodness, he pays homage to the sugarcane history of Puerto Rico. And then again, it made it clear that the Americas is not just the United States. And at the end, he named all of the countries as well. And so it was an incredible performance. I absolutely enjoyed it. Now, of course, while that was happening, Crazy Deranged MAGA was having the Turning Point USA, so-called All-American halftime show. Wasn't even live. We now realize it was taped on Friday. They had 200 people in the room trying to make it seem like it was jam-packed. They couldn't even pack 1,000 people into that joint. It was a joke. Kid Rock was lip syncing. It was absolutely awful and abysmal. And then they're just feeling themselves by saying, oh my God, 6 million, 7 million, 10 million watched, where early estimates say that 135 million people watched the halftime show. 127 million watched the game. That means that if that holds up, it will be the largest viewed halftime in history. But boy, these folks have been crashing out. They have been losing their mind. They were going crazy. Donald Trump lost his mind tweeting. Posted on Truth Social. But then they showed video from Mar-a-Lago, and they actually had Bad Bunny's halftime up and not the folks over at Turning Point USA. I was cracking up laughing. I love to see these people just lose their mind because they couldn't handle all that color. Oh, Lord, right there, they were just losing it. Oh, they were just losing it. Just losing it. And so I thought it was lovely. But what it goes.
Now, question, I'm gonna ask y'all, do y'all think that's what it is? You think Mecca was going crazy? They can't handle all this color of the halftime show. What the hell is going on? These Hispanics and these Negroes is taking over. Do y'all think that's what's going on?
To show you. And then I told you my book, White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds. And this is a perfect example. The crashing out. Now, if y'all want to see who is the lead cheerleader for white nationalist MAGA,
it has to be that troll Megyn Kelly. So she was on Piers Morgan today, and she was just losing. Oh my God, this was just awful. This is destroying America. Y'all want to see a deranged white woman? Here you go.
Let's take a look at Megyn Kelly. Now, we know Megyn Kelly will get to it. We'll see, man. We'll see how she crash out. Let's go.
To get up there and perform the whole show in Spanish is a middle finger to the rest of America. Who gives a damn that we have 40 million Spanish speakers in the United States? We have 310 million who don't speak a lick of Spanish. This is supposed to be a unifying event for the country, not for the Latinos, not for one small group, but for the country. We don't need a black national anthem. We don't need a Spanish-speaking, non-English performer, and we don't need an ICE or America hater featured as our primetime entertainment.
Okay. Do you agree? Did she crash out? You know, this is, you know, hey, I don't necessarily agree with Roland Martin. I don't know if I agree with him with this or not. I'm just, hey, I just want to know.
What is the national language, officially, the national language of the United States of America?
I mean, English. And there's been a push for many years to make it an official,
you don't have one.
Documented thing.
You don't have one.
If you would have let me finish my comment, I would have pointed that out.
Now, mind you, she threw the black national anthem in there. It's like, whoa, what that got to, anyway.
Have been pushing to make it official.
Okay,
right,
so you're trying to make official.
This attitude that you have right here is why you in
on.
Great Britain have lost your culture. You ceded your culture to a bunch of radical Muslims who came in and took over, and now it's gone. We're not allowing that here. Whether it's Hispanic, whether it's Muslim, it's not happening in the United States of America. That's why President Trump was elected. And whether it's Bad Bunny, who is American but refuses to speak English in his performances, or anybody else, we have to keep the Super Bowl, which is a quintessential American event. Football, that kind of football, is ours. They call it American football.
Whether you're so what y'all think? What you think? I mean, do she got a point? Do she got a point that American football is kind of like our thing? You know what I mean? Like it's kind of an American thing. So what do you say to that? You know what I mean? Or can we be inclusive? Because like I said, that, you know, I'm listening intently, like, yeah, say something black month. I'm gonna rip yo. But she didn't. She said more so the Latin thing. I'm like, all right. But you know, but I don't know. I'm listening, Megan. You better not say I'm gonna rip your ass a new one when you say something black. Because I'm gonna tell your ass a new one, motherfucker. We damn near more American than you motherfuckers is. But anyway, I ain't gonna even get into that. You know what I mean?
Anything other than good old-fashioned American apple pie. There should be a meatloaf, maybe some fried chicken, and an English-speaking performer. That's what the Super Bowl should be.
Now, hey, like I say, of course they being petty. Now they being petty. But at the end of the day, you know, what do y'all think? Do y'all think that she might have a point about the Spanish speaking? You know what I mean? The crash out thing. Should she be crashing out over a goddamn halftime show? You know what I mean? Or is that like a dog whistle to us, like, you know, basically to us, like, don't be too careful. You know, if they'll go against the Spanish people, you know what I mean? Y'all next. You know,
movie Dance With Me. Y'all, and I post on Instagram. Y'all, it's so many songs I got on my phone. I don't know what the hell they saying. Matter of fact, Kendrick was last year. I ain't know what the hell half of stuff he was saying. And he was speaking English. So, like, y'all, come on. I mean,
come on, Roland. Don't you do that. See, now you get disingenuous. Now you get disingenuous.
These white folks crack me up. And so they can't stand the damn, lift their voice and sing. And so they were mad at Coco Jones. And so now they mad about this. And all they do is just wonk, wonk, wonk. And the NFL, like, they so stupid because the NFL is like, yo, we trying to go international. We trying to get paid. And that's all this is. But these folk crashing out. And it's like Megan's sitting here like, we don't give a damn.
That might be a point, because the NFL might be saying, we trying to get some of that international money. You think we worried about what the hell? Some of y'all think y'all will be fine. We going for billions.
Not one. She can kiss my ass. Matt Walsh can kiss my ass. All them damn white supremacists who been cracking up can kiss my ass. Matter of fact, this one dude got mad. This one bar, he changed all the TV to the Turning Point USA. And the dude was like, I ain't come here for that. He's like, we don't want to hear that. He's like, but y'all serve tacos and margaritas. I mean, this is how dumb these people are. This is how dumb these people are.
I don't know where the hell this be happening at, man. I mean, like, I be in the South and this shit don't even be happening. I don't know, man. Roland be having some shit, man. I don't
These
know.
white folks this mad since Obama.
I don't know where he need all these white folks to turn the TV to turn the point USA.
That sounds about right. That sounds about right historically.
It might have Fox News on, but you know,
like fire, breathing, raging. And it's interesting, you know, because there's video up there of them watching the halftime show at Mar-a-Lago, you know, Lindsey Graham all up in the picture and stuff, and how all of these guys who said they weren't going to watch it because they were going to watch the real American halftime show, how they know that all of this happened if they didn't watch it themselves? So you know they were watching it, even if they didn't watch it live, they watched it later because they had enough to say. And when it comes to this whole thing about, you know, Spanish, she's like Hispanic, Muslim, like just run down the things, whether religion, whether it's language. Okay, you want to talk about, oh, he's speaking in Spanish. You ever go to an opera, Megyn Kelly? You ain't seen got no problem with them singing in Italian, right? So it's just like, how you going to pick and choose?
Is that a good point? Or is that, you know, I don't know.
Here, but when it comes to Bad Bunny and this halftime show, one of the things that made me realize, and you just hinted at it, Roland, about the NFL going international, they have showed that America is actually in decline. Because you have the #1 artist in the world, who obviously is Puerto Rican, who is American, but he does not perform in the United States because of his fear of what ICE will do to his fans. So he doesn't even come here. He's the #1 artist. The NFL is playing 8 games this year overseas. So she's talking about American football. We created it. They're looking at possibly having expansion teams overseas. So they're just like with NBA, just like with MLB. So people are moving on from America. And so while you want to embrace whiteness and keep declining, he had a performance that showed what unity is about. People are like, oh, it wasn't political. Everything about that show was political. And it was beautiful, from the diversity, just run down the list. We've been talking about it.
Now, what's so, you know, like I said, I want y'all to think about it. What do y'all think about that? What do y'all think about that? Because me personally, like I said, I really don't like a daggone halftime show that my ass can't understand. I remember this shit that up there. I remember this. I really ain't like a halftime show that I could understand. I ain't gonna lie. You know, so I don't really know how I really too much feel about it. But, you know, it's whatever. You know what I mean? But like, as of right now, like I said, we'll come back to that. Right now, we about to get back. You know what I mean? We gonna go ahead and like I said, go ahead and get back to what in the world, you know what I mean, is going on in Israel and Iran. Now they said, look, Trump said he gonna hit Iran power plants if they don't gonna open the strait.
Gulf allies around the region. So the question is really, what does Iran do next? And what is hit after this deadline passes around 7:44 a.m. our time in this time zone, East Asia, Beijing. So Tehran has also said, Polo, that it's going to irreversibly destroy these civilian infrastructure targets, again, if its power plants are targeted. So what that means...
So Trump is saying, look, I'm about to target y'all power plants, try to knock the power out, the infrastructure out to the country. This is some stuff that we don't have to worry about. But like I said, I think we should know this is what in the world is going on over there. Why they say we're not at war.
Is essential infrastructure like water, energy, desalination plants. Those have all been now deemed legitimate targets. And this is just, I mean, such a contrast to when the president is telling reporters and also posting on social media that from his point of view, the war is winding down. Well, it may not be winding down if we have civilian targets in the mix that Amnesty International has warned over the past couple of weeks could amount to war crimes if these targets that are essential to how we live every single day are put into the crosshairs by military forces on either side of this conflict.
That's my whole point. The war is over. We're about to be over very, very soon. But yet you just get put out these targets of power plants in Iran that you about to hit. And Iran is submitting things that they're going to return fire with. It's like, this don't sound like this is ramping down. You act like this is going away. It don't really look like it. I'm just looking.
That could lead, according to Amnesty statements, to vast, predictable, and devastating civilian harm. So Iran is further saying that if its power plants are targeted, that the Strait of Hormuz is not going to open fully until those targets are rebuilt. For what it's worth, Polo, you know, Mike Waltz, the U.S. ambassador.
That's what Tehran is saying. Look, if you hit them if you want to, we're going to keep the Strait down as long as these, whatever power plants or whatever you hit is in the process of construction. So if you hit it, guarantee, take 6 months to construct it, it's going to be closed for 6 months. Okay, that's now. So what do you do?
The United Nations said on the Sunday shows in the United States that America will likely be targeting, you know, power plants and energy infrastructure that are mainly used by Iran's military forces. But that, according to analysts, I mean, we had David Singer on in the last hour, people who are talking to us on CNN.com. That's a real blurry, you know, vague line, because if you have power plants that are used by the military, they're all—
That's just me, Mahogany. I think it's been loading for the past year.
Also helping to keep hospitals going, water, sewage. So if those targets are hit, what level of misery perhaps does that add to the populace of Iran? So very high stakes as we are waiting for this deadline, Polo.
Yeah, more suffering for civilians in Iran. Potential suffering.
Yeah.
CNN's Mike Valerio with that update. Thank you.
I mean, but you know how we like to put on here, oh, well, they're suffering because of the regime. Well, that suffering probably would be caused by us, right? Wouldn't you think that suffering technically would be, you know, means caused by us and our doing? You know what I mean? That's the first thing I would think. But anyway.
Do you expect that he'll actually enforce this deadline that's up in a little under 24 hours?
It's a really interesting question, because he set this up as his own red line. Not clear at all to me that the Iranians are going to relent on this issue, because this is their one remaining true source of power. The president's right when he says that the U.S. and Israel have depleted their missile capability, have wiped out their navy, have wiped out many of their launchers. But the one thing that the U.S. has not cracked is Iran's ability to close the strait. And the Iranians recognize that this is their one great point of leverage. So unless there's a negotiated solution through one of the Gulf countries intervening, I don't see a way that that deadline doesn't pass. Then the question is, Polo, does the president begin to destroy energy facilities that just last week he was telling the Israelis not to touch?
And then there's also, you know, just on—
Like I said, Iran might be backing them into a corner, because they're saying, like, look, if we can't do nothing else, we can shut down the strait. And that's 25% of the world's oil. That's why the gas is so high. Iran saying, look, if we can't do nothing else, we're going to make everybody feel it in their pockets. And see, now the Americans are feeling it in their pockets. Us at the pump, you know, we all paying more. We all feeling it at the pump. That's Iran's strategy.
On that point too, David, if Iran, because there's no clear indication that Iran will crack, so if Iran ignores this deadline, do you see it potentially backfiring now on President Trump?
Well, first, striking energy facilities is prohibited by the Geneva Convention.
Hold on.
And look, I'm going to be honest with y'all. I don't think the daggone shit is going to matter. I don't think they little damn deadline, I don't think whether he do it or whether he don't do it. I don't really think that daggone shit even matters. I'm going to be honest with you. I just don't. I think that whatever deadline he come up with, they going to break it and they ain't going to care, and ain't nobody even going to think twice about it. He's gonna be talking next week. Oh, we almost got him done. They're almost about to be.
It's fed by Russian fuel. The fuel goes back to Russia, so we're not worried about it for their weapons program. But the fact of the matter is, striking nuclear facilities is something I don't think President Trump is going to order. He might well go after some lesser facilities, but even that is pretty problematic. And there's no evidence that he could control the Iranian reaction if they did the same to Saudi Arabia or the UAE or Bahrain or Qatar.
I wonder if we could also revisit one of your latest pieces of analysis here, specifically when it comes to other factors in this war and what President Trump has not really addressed or at least touched on again. Different factors like certainly the movement of protests that we witnessed play out. Has the president revisited, of course, defending some of these protesters that he claimed to be defending earlier this year, or even the regime itself, that though it may be.
Like I said, Trump seems to be talking about these protesters in Iran and how Iran is dealing with them, don't hurt the people or whatever, all by simultaneously talking about taking power plants out to put the whole country in the dark. Okay.
It ran through today, basically made the case that if you go back to the president's objectives as he laid them out on February 28th, when the first attack on Iran began, it included not only protecting the protesters, but telling them, stay in your homes, and once the fighting is over, come out and overthrow your government. We have not heard him make that invitation again. And in fact, he acknowledged about a week ago that that would be really difficult to do since the protesters don't have any guns and the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and the militias that have killed people on the streets still do. He has not discussed.
He better do something, right? Because hey, this gas getting out of control. You know what I mean? And Iranians saying, look, we gonna hold that straight close as long as we need to. Look, the hell with, look, we might can't fight you in the air. You might can bomb the hell out of us. You might can kill our leaders, but we can hold it straight for a long time to put every American in the war.
His own words was the fact that near bomb-grade nuclear material remains on their property, buried largely at Isfahan. But in this most recent post on Friday, he seemed to suggest that as long as the U.S. was certain that it could step in time and stop Iran from getting the bomb, he was satisfied with that. Well, he could have had that even before the attack started.
Yeah, as you lay out in that analysis, many of his original war goals, as you're right, they remain unaccomplished. We will continue to track this, as always, with you, with your coverage, with your reporting, and your analysis, CNN political and national security analyst.
Now, look, you know, so my thing is, so what we got to say about it? You know, what we got to say about it? But I mean, look, hey, at the end of the day, you know what he's saying about it. This is what he's saying about it.
I believe the best generals. We have the best. And this went very quickly. We talked about that with President Putin. He was very impressed with what he saw because nobody's ever seen anything quite like it. You know, Iran was a very powerful military country with all of the missiles. Now, you had the double attack. You had the original attack with us and Israel, and that knocked them for a loop. Then you had the B-2 bombers, which took out their nuclear capability, and they would have had a nuclear weapon within 2 weeks to 4 weeks. And they would have used it long before this press conference. And we might have had a much different press conference if we had a press conference at all. But it's been amazing. The military success that we've had is truly unprecedented.
You've told your congressional colleagues that you will not sign any piece of legislation until the Save America Act is passed. Does that include the confirmation of Senator Mullen as your next DHS secretary? Does that mean a DHS funding bill? And Senator Thune said today, it's not a matter of whether or not your Republican colleagues agree with the policy.
Save America Act. I'm gonna have to look more into this Save America Act, see what in the world going on with it. But yeah, y'all, like I said, maybe that's something y'all need to look into because there's something else going on. The Save America Act. What the hell are we saving? We always saving something. We ain't got to save nothing. Stop saving shit.
It's about changing the process. In other words, getting rid of the filibuster to get there.
So in order to get it, you're going to need Democrat votes. And what we're saying is the Save America, not the Save Act, which nobody knew what it was, the Save America Act, the Save America Act. And that's voter ID. We want voter ID. When a voter, we want to be able to see a picture of the voter. We want to be able to see that the voter is legitimate. We want, very importantly, confirmation that this voter is a citizen of the United States of America. And we want no mail-in ballot scams. So we have exceptions for the military, for sick, for disabled, and for people that are away, business trips or whatever. Even vacations will be very liberal in that. We've added two things to it: no men in women's sports and no transgender mutilization of our children. We don't want it's mutilization of our children. And
so all this gonna be in one bill? Because some of these things I can agree with, but it's just like, what else is in this bill? Because see, I know y'all enough to know that y'all be putting them 3,000-4,000 page bills in, and I'm like, what else is in the bill?
We don't want that. So we added those two things. That's the 5 points. We have 5 very good points. It polls at 86% with Democrats. Think of that. The overall vote is 86%. With Republicans, it's 98%. And the only one opposed to it is a Democrat leadership because they cheat. They want to cheat. So we added those 2 points. We're going for the gold, and we're going to have to fight like hell. Now, certain things will happen. Certain things will take place. I'm here to do a great job for the country. But we don't have a country if we're going to have elections that are so corrupt and so dishonest like we've witnessed over the last period of time. You know, as an example, virtually nobody has nobody has a system of mail-in ballots like we have. No other country in the world. France went away from it. They all went, you know why? Because it's corrupt. And Jimmy,
some of this is going to be about the voting system. We might want to look into this.
Can't have mail-in voting because it's inherently dishonest, and it's turned out to be totally dishonest. So we're going to fight for it. Yeah.
Save America Act, people. I see this is something that I need to look into. The Save America Act, right? This is something that we all need to look into. Because this ain't, you know what I mean, this ain't right here. This don't look good. You know. But anyway, man, next, man, we're gonna run over, deal with a little world.
Parts of Havana haven't been replaced since the 1930s. Transportation and communication infrastructure is outdated. And the agricultural sector is crying out for massive investment so that the largest island in the Caribbean can produce its own food.
And then there's recreation, like golf, for example, which for many people, including the US president, is an absolute necessity.
4 years ago, the government said it would allow foreign and Cuban investors to run private companies. But so far, a legal and financial framework that guarantees investments is absent.
Now, remember what Trump said about Cuba? This is why we got to go around the world, because, see, this is Al Jazeera. They're going to report from in Cuba that Trump said Cuba about to fall apart. Let's see what's going on inside Cuba.
Economist Omar Everleni says that a while back, the government sent him to Vietnam to see how the private sector worked. But his findings were ignored.
I don't care if it's this one or not, but we need a state that thinks differently, that is decentralized. For example, China and Vietnam are centralized politically. They have a communist party, but very different from ours, which wants total control of the economy.
Many, including the US Secretary of State, argue that the only way to revive Cuba's economy is to replace its political system. But others believe that the Cuban state could survive, but only if it abandons outdated economic controls driven by ideology that have failed everywhere. Lucia Newman, Al Jazeera, Havana.
Stay with Al Jazeera. Our comprehensive coverage of the U.S. and Israel war against Iran continues in just...
Like I said, look, man, you get a chance to see what it looked like, what's going on inside Cuba, right? because we really what we don't know is, we hear a lot of we hear a lot of them go back and forth about what's going on. You know what I mean? What's going on in terms of around the world, right? But don't worry about it. Like I said, look, we're going to finish off with a story about Representative Al Green being removed from the State of the Union address.
Brother Congressman Al Green to speak truth to power last night when Donald Trump was walking into the House. Congressman Al Green held up this sign. You see it right here. You see Steve Scalise trying to snatch it out of his hand. It says, "Black people aren't apes." Several Republicans tried again to snatch it out of his hand. He was a little later escorted out of the House chamber. Congressman Al Green joins us right now. Congressman, glad to have you back on the show. Why did you want to do that? Why did you want to hold this sign up?
Yeah. Why you wanted to hold the sign up at the State of the Union? Black people aren't apes. I don't understand.
Up last night during the State of the Union.
Not only did I want to hold the sign up, I wanted it to be in the president's personal space. I was there to confront the president. I wanted him to know that what he's doing is harming Black people and that we're not going to tolerate it. The president never said that this was wrong. He never said he regretted that it occurred. He, in fact, in essence, condoned it. And I don't. And those who allow this thing to continue, those who tolerate it, perpetuate it. I will not perpetuate the notion that Black people are inferior and somehow related to the ape family.
You had several Republicans who actually tried to walk up to you and snatch it out of your hand. That was an exchange between you and this Oklahoma Congressman Mullen. What did you say to him when he tried a couple of times to snatch it out of your hand?
Well, the exchange was rather quickly done, and I told him that this was my property in essence, and that I was going to retain it. There were others who were saying to me that I should not be as concerned about this as I am. And I said to them, in essence, you can't tell me how I should feel about the things that are harming me. And that's what plagues us as a people. Other people want to define our suffering for us and tell us the extent that we should call it suffering. We cannot allow this. And we especially cannot allow these other forms of media to determine when we can complain and how we should complain. Our complaints are ours to voice when we believe it's necessary to have them exposed. Unfortunately, we've gotten to the point now where we can only say certain things on outlets such as yours. For example, the word racism. You say racism on the major networks, they won't have your back. But if we say it here, we can explain why it exists and what we must do to resist the existence of it and eliminate it so we don't have to suffer from it.
Now, me personally, I didn't know about this story, but I'm finding out about it.
That a White House staffer, go to my iPad, Henry. A White House staffer appears to run a massive pro-X account. A popular right-wing account that called a video depicting Barack and Michelle Obama as apes a masterpiece appears to be run by a White House staffer, according to records reviewed by Wired. I mean, that's a perfect example right there, Congressman Green, of here you are protesting this.
And see, a lot of this is in response to, the whole joke on Barack and Michelle Obama.
He talked to Senator Tim Scott that he took it down. Later on Air Force One, he basically defended it and said he wasn't going to apologize. And so the White House wants to have it both ways. And so by confronting him, you're challenging him on this very issue.
Yes, we are challenging him on the issue, but we also are challenging him with the confrontation. You can challenge a person with a letter. You can challenge with a phone call. There are other ways to do it, but we've got to find ways to get in his face and challenge him. And this State of the Union is one means by which we can do this. The president knows that he can stand back and this never touches him. And this is what he does. He could care less about our complaining outside the White House. But last night was the opportunity to be there and in his face. And that is something that he does not find a means by which he can avoid. What happened?
Now, what you think about his strategy? What you think about Representative Al Green's strategy? You say, hey, he can, a lot of things he can get away from, but he couldn't get away from this.
What happened last night was unavoidable. And I will tell you, I went there to do this. The last time it was done with the spontaneity. This time it was intentionality. The president has to know that we're willing to get in his face.
Did you voluntarily leave, or were you escorted out by the House Sergeant at Arms? Were you ordered to be removed? What happened there?
It was a combination of both. I was asked to take down my sign, to hold it down, and I said, no, I would not do that. And we talked a bit more, and after talking a bit more, and they became very, as you know, upset about my continuing to stay on, he agreed that he would escort me out, and I did leave. But it was a combination of both, because at some point, there was going to be more of what was happening. I wasn't trying to avoid that, but I did want to make sure I got my point across. And I stayed until I felt that I gotten my point across. And my intentionality was to leave anyway. I didn't plan to stay to listen through what he was saying. That was never in a part of my program. I wanted to get my point across and then leave. And I did that, and I left.
I got to ask you this here. There was this moment where Donald Trump said, if you agree with this statement, then stand up. The first duty of the American government is to protect American citizens, not illegal aliens. The right wing is really playing this up by saying, well, the Republicans stood up and the Democrats, they refused to stand up. What do you say about that? And you know, Glenn Beck is like, oh my God, that was the easiest applause line. And you know, here you had the family of a young girl who was killed by an undocumented worker. And they were like, how dare you dishonor by not standing up? What do you make of that whole part of the speech?
Well, the first duty is to support the Constitution. And the Constitution has places in it where all people are to be protected. So I stand with the Constitution. He stands with a might makes right mentality. And if we allow this might makes right mentality, ends justify the means to persist, we will shred the Constitution. It will become meaningless. And we will then have more than authoritarianism. We will have the dictatorship that we all dread and would not want to see happen and occur in this country. I think even these people on the right, a good many of them would not want to see a dictatorship. But it's about the Constitution. What they try to do is reduce this to a person who's done something dastardly and say, do you support this dastard or do you support the American people? No, I support the Constitution. And if the Constitution accords a person rights, then you don't deny that person's rights simply because the person has done something egregious. You still have to afford people the rights that the Constitution says that they have, because at some point it can be my rights or your rights that the Constitution says that we have. And persons can then say, well, we don't support that because we think it's wrong. Well, you can't do that. I support the Constitution. And when the Constitution says that a person has rights, we have to give them those rights. To give you a great example, due process of the law. He believes that if somehow you've been accused of a crime, you no longer have the right to due process. Well, that's what due process is all about. But people who have been accused of crimes, but people who may have committed crimes, but they still are entitled to due process of the law, because that somewhere along the way, there will be somebody caught in that dragnet that is not guilty, that is innocent. And that law is there to protect that person and extricate that person from that dragnet. We have to have due process of the law. The president believes that he is the law, and no process is due other than what he would accord people of his own volition.
Man. So what y'all think about what Representative Al Green had to say right there? You know what I mean? What you think about it, man? You know what I mean? And look, hey, man, look, it's been a good one. Appreciate y'all for rocking with me, man. You know, man, look, hey, I want y'all to think about what you do. All right? Think about what you do. Hey, you know what I mean?
You go to Nigeria, which is, if not the most corrupt nation in Africa, and it is, it could be the most corrupt nation in the world, Minister Farrakhan.
Oh, now, Mr. Wallace.
It is the most corrupt nation that I have ever covered I've been there 25 years ago, and I've been there as recently as last year.
Fine. So what? 35 years old. That's what that nation is. Now here's America, 226 years old. You love democracy, but there in Africa, you're trying to force these people into a system of government that you just have accepted. 30 years ago, black folk got the right to vote. You're not in any moral position to tell anybody how corrupt they are. You should be quiet and let those of us who know our people go there and help them get out of that condition. But America should keep her mouth shut wherever there's a corrupt regime, as much hell as America has raised on the earth. No, I will not allow America or you, Mr. Wallace, to condemn them as the most corrupt nation on earth when you have spilled the blood of human beings. Has Nigeria dropped an atomic bomb and killed people in Hiroshima and Nagasaki? Have they killed off millions of Native Americans? How dare you put yourself in that position as a moral judge? I think you should keep quiet, because with that much blood on America's hands, you have no right to speak. I will speak because I don't have that blood on my hand. Yes, there's corruption there. Yes, there's mismanagement of resources. Yes, there is abuse. There's abuse in every nation on earth, including this one. So let's not play holy to moralize on them. Let's help them.
I'm not moralizing. I'm asking a question, and I got an answer.
Why would you put it as the most corrupt regime in the world? That doesn't make sense.
Can you think of one more corrupt?
Yeah, I'm living in one. I'm living in one. Yes, you've done a hell of a thing on this earth, so you should not be the one to talk. You should be quiet when it comes to moral condemnation, in my judgment. I didn't mean to be so fiery.
No, that's good. That's good.
That's my passion.
She got a big ass body with some little ass breasts. Do like a gorilla, bitch, and beat on your chest. Big ass body with some little ass breasts. Do like a gorilla, bitch, and beat on your chest. Silverback, 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 with some little ass breasts. Do like a gorilla, bitch, and beat on your chest. Big ass body with some little ass breasts. Do like a gorilla, bitch, and beat on your chest. Silverback, 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 she got a big ass body with some little ass breasts. Do like a gorilla, bitch, and beat on your chest. Silverback, silverback, silverback.
Wait.